still have.
It is obvious that this contest cannot be decided by our knowledge of the Force, but by our skills with a lightsaber.
What if Yoda killed Count Dooku in Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones? In today's video, we'll be looking at a scenario where Count Dooku is killed in Attack of the Clones by Yoda's hand rather than Anakin killing him in the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. And we're going to see how things would play out in the Clone Wars and the galaxy in general in this Star Wars what if scenario. Before we get started, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more videos and live streams. Without further ado, let's get started. We start off on Geonosis, where Dooku has just made a mess of things with Obi-Wan and Anakin, who had already lost his hand. Yoda majestically creeps in the large room like he did in the storyline we're familiar with. They test their knowledge of the Force like they do in the movies, and it proves similarly to be a draw. However, this time when they attempt to decide the contest with their skills with a lightsaber, Yoda would prevail. Dooku's prowess as one of the galaxy's best sword masters is formidable with his Form 2 Makashi, the form specific for lightsaber dueling. However, Yoda, being the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, was a great duelist of his own, utilizing the Form 4 of Ataru, which focused on acrobatics and quick speed, which, combined with Yoda's great and overwhelming speed, got the better of Dooku this time. The duel would go on to be a similar length, but when Dooku would attempt to bring the pillars down on Obi-Wan and Anakin, before he could get it done, Yoda would make a swift move to strike a fatal blow and decapitate Dooku, ironically enough. And now, with Dooku defeated, a major gap in leadership and power in the CIS was about to unfold in the newly started Clone Wars that seemed to have just begun. CDS had always planned to kill Dooku at some point and replace him with a far younger and more powerful apprentice in Anakin Skywalker. But this was much earlier than expected, and not by his own doing. He was without an important chess piece to play the leader of the other side of the Clone Wars. This would pave way for General Grievous to have a larger role in leading the Separatist forces and doing business with the Trade Federation. Also, due to the timing of Dooku's death and the need to have a Force-sensitive apprentice of some kind to ensure the Sith's security, Dooku's once dark acolyte, Severance Tan, a female Chiss, a would-be important key player in the early parts of the Clone Wars, would be tracked down by Sidious and promptly given the title of Darth. Sidious would have sensed her presence in the Force and used this meditation to find her. Though Sidious also planned to dispose of her later, he was desperately in need for the Clone Wars to start and be capable of doing enough destruction to the galaxy and to spread out the Jedi enough for him to be able to hatch his master plan of Order 66. Sidious did not have full confidence Grievous alone to do so, so he figured the two of them working together could serve as a competent enough threat to play the part of the other side of the war. Similarly to Dooku, Sidious would manipulate and train Darth Tan in the ways of the dark side, but only enough to be a greater threat to the Jedi, not to himself, of course. The Clone Wars would play out similarly, yet different from what we know. Although the duo of Severance Tan and Grievous were formidable, they did not make as much good decisions as Dooku would have in the main timeline. This would lead to less Jedi being killed in the Clone Wars and just less overall spreading out of the Jedi. For example, the attack on Kashyyyk towards the end of the Clone Wars would never happen, in turn meaning Master Yoda remains at the Jedi Temple. Remember that for later. The Jedi and the Republic were not struggling as much, causing less poor decisions to be made. Ahsoka would remain part of the Jedi Order as there would be less desperation and poor decisions being made between the Jedi High Council and the Republic, and because Barriss would never end up needing to bomb the Jedi Temple. And that's a key difference, meaning that Anakin, even towards the end of Clone Wars, would still have Ahsoka at his side, and of course working with his Master Kenobi as well. Palpatine, getting desperate to be able to hatch his master plan of Order 66 to rid the Jedi of the galaxy, meditated on what he would do. He was still feeding nightmares to Anakin Skywalker of his now wife Padme's demise during childbirth. Although efforts to divide and weaken the Jedi were not going as great as he hoped, he was still in control of everything ultimately. He decided his best course of action would be to make more aggressive moves with the Separatist forces, having General Grievous lead half the Separatist fleet to attack Kamino, the location of the production of the clone army of the Republic. Surely the Jedi would need to send Mene Jedi and other resources to stop a move so bold. The other half of his plan would be to have Severin Tan, his apprentice, lead the other half of the Separatist forces into Republic space to the world of Coruscant. He instructed her to capture him, being the Chancellor as well at the time, unbeknownst to the Jedi, and to bring him aboard a Separatist cruiser, similar to how Grievous had done. And at the same time, send legions of super battle droids and Magna Guards to the Jedi Temple to inflict damage and distract the Jedi. The goal wasn't for them to wipe them out, but simply to distract and cause more damage to the Jedi, since they were doing better off than in their original timeline. His grand plan with all this, though, was to actually accelerate his plan to turn Anakin to the dark side. He knew the Jedi Council would send the skilled trio of Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, and Obi-Wan Kenobi to the rescue of the Supreme Chancellor. It was during this extraction that Severin Tan and a dozen Magna Guards would fight these three. Even a Dark Lord of the Sith was no match for the skilled trio, but as Anakin had disarmed her, she revealed a hologram of Padme Amidala, captured and imprisoned. "How could you capture Padme?" Anakin declared. Palpatine had shared the location of the senator to Severin Tan before his own capture, and in turn she had sent elite commando droids to capture Padme. What the Jedi had not noticed during this exchange on the ship was that Palpatine had suddenly freed himself. Before anyone can act, a wave of Sith lightning struck Obi-Wan Kenobi in the back, full power enough to kill him almost instantly. At the same time, Severance revealed a secret second red lightsaber in his sleeve and ignited it, swinging it at Ahsoka, blocking the blow, now aware what was going on. Without Obi-Wan, Severance was much more dangerous, especially for Ahsoka to handle on her own. But Anakin was now preoccupied at the same time with the Dark Lord of the Sith now looking him in the eye. "Do not interfere with this fight between your apprentice and mine," Palpatine said with his yellow eyes. He revealed a switch on his arm comlink. "One touch of this button and Padme dies. Also, if you kill me, a signal will be transmitted to the contacts that I have to kill her." "How could you?" Anakin screamed, now turning to see the struggling Ahsoka Tano. Anakin's anger was swelling, knowing how Palpatine betrayed him. His closest mentor and friend, and now he had his wife too? He could only sit and watch as Ahsoka parried the best she could against the Chiss Darth. Even Obi-Wan was killed by Palpatine. More anger swelled in him, and Palpatine simply chuckled as he watched the show unfold. Ahsoka put up a good fight, but ultimately was cut down to a more experienced and more powerful Dark Acolyte. "No!" Anakin screamed, getting to his knees. He loved Ahsoka and cared for her deeply, but there's nobody he loved more than Padme. He would kill for Padme. It didn't stop the tears coming from his eyes. "Now you will fight Darth Tan, my apprentice," announced Palpatine. The Chiss walked closer and licked her lips. "Whomever wins this shall be the apprentice of mine that will be beside me to rule the galaxy," declared Palpatine. "Anakin, you best do your best, or if you fail, I will have no use for Padme anymore either." Anakin was already deep in the dark side after watching both his master and his apprentice die in a matter of minutes. And knowing how little control he had with Palpatine having Padme, all he could do is hone the dark side of the Force to win the fight ahead. Palpatine knew Anakin would surely win this fight, but if he somehow failed, at the very least, he could not be used against him by the Jedi. The duel was epic between the Chiss Sith Lord and Anakin Skywalker, but soon Severance fell as well. After her defeat, Anakin turned to Palpatine, revealing full Sith yellow eyes now. He got to his knees below Palpatine.
"A powerful Sith you will become. Henceforth, you shall be known as Darth Vader."
Thank you, my master.
With the stage set and Palpatine securing his new apprentice, Palpatine decided to enact Order 66. And this time, Palpatine and Anakin would go on to attack the Jedi Temple together, with legions of clone troopers turning on the Jedi that were already fighting against the Separatist forces on the Temple. Yoda would be there at the temple helping in the fight, along with other prominent Jedi masters such as Mace Windu, but ultimately it would not be enough. In the aftermath, Coruscant would be seen as a complete bloodbath, with the Jedi of the Jedi Council wiped out by Anakin and Palpatine. All that was left was to hunt and track down the Jedi sent to fight Grievous, to Kamino, and any other lingering Jedi out in the galaxy, and to shut down the Trade Federation and all of the droids with it. And with it, a new empire arose. But one day, when Palpatine was least expecting it, Anakin would betray Palpatine, freeing himself of his control over Padme and reuniting with her, and going on to rule the galaxy together as husband and wife, with a couple of Force-sensitive babies on the way. Well, that's going to wrap it up, guys. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more videos. I plan to make more what-if videos like this, so stay tuned. I like to kind of keep it open-ended and up for interpretation. But let me know in the comments, what do you think would have happened in the galaxy and the Clone Wars and whatever else if Yoda would have killed Count Dooku in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones? Let me know your guys' thoughts and what you would have done differently. I hope you're having a great day, and may the Force be with you, always.